Well, David, I truly hope that Jacob Zuma was misquoted when he said the only white South Africans who are true South Africans are Afrikaners. Because, I mean, that means you and I better get on a boat. And same with another 3 million English-speaking South Africans. What a crazy comment to make. Yeah. I hope he was misquoted. Doesn't sound like him. Anyway, let's get on to the markets, which are flying today.
Absolutely. Another 3% at one stage. We were up almost 4% today. Very, very strong. And it's a global move. I saw Wall Street top the 8,000 mark, before. It's moved up about 1,000 points almost in the last few days. And this is on the back, to an extent, on the G20, but also the belief that we're seeing a stabilization of the global economy. Alec, there was another story, and which was that financial markets were helped by this decision from the Financial Accounting Standards Board that it's going to review its results on fair value accounting. We always talk about mark-to-market.
So they're going to fiddle the numbers.
They're going to fiddle them, exactly. There's a huge outcry. But this is pressure from, I think, the accountants at financial services, and also I'm not sure, but by the so there were pressure groups on the financial services, on the Financial Accounts Board, to change the rules. They said
so. The lobbyists have won, which is in a way.
I haven't had enough time to look through it, but it means that banking profits, they will not write down the assets as much as they were under the old rules.
But how appallingly ridiculous is that? Because if the assets are not worth what they're being written down to, and I know the banks will come out and say, and they have been saying, but there are different rules that you should be bringing to play.
It's not transparent. I mean, this is what the whole accounting, these rules were set up to do, to value the instruments that you held at market value.
But I think the important thing here, David, is because so now they're going to allow the banks to fudge their figures so the stock market goes up. Is that because the investors are going to be fooled?
It was part of it, because certainly in the financial institutions, because they're going to come out with better profits. They used a term that they will allow companies to use significant judgment in the valuation. Now, I don't know what that means. It's too early. We need a lot more
just
rules
after
to come
Madoff. Just after Enron. Let's allow the companies to have significant judgment. Seems to make a whole lot of sense.
So that's why we saw financial companies really rocketing today. Investec up 12%. Right across the board, we saw. I think around the world we saw, banks picking up on the back of this news. But overall, it was a very strong day. And I also think what the other move we saw is the move out of U.S. Treasuries, out of gold, into equities and that. So gold came down. Gold shares were down quite significantly, down about 6%. But I mean, that was a very small part of our market. The rest very strong.
Gold, as you say, below $900 an ounce. It's $430 today. I suppose also the possibility that there's going to be sales of the IMF's gold might have weighed on the market as well.
To pick up the
massive news coming out of the G20 countries. And just by way of background, in Davos in January this year, there was a definite move towards countries starting to work together and collaborate together. And you'll hear from Trevor Manuel in just a little while in the discussion that Felicity Duncan had with our finance minister, that this, although in the media there's been a perception created that the Americans on the one side are at loggerheads with the German and French axis on the other side. Trevor, who was inside the meetings and heard actually what happened, it says that isn't the case. And certainly what's come out now in this communique from the Group of 20 shows that the countries are doing what they'd promised to do in Davos, which is come together with a united front and try and work as an international community to lift us out of this morass that we're in. The markets seem to believe that it's going to happen, David.
They do. Look, there are a lot of areas that they're addressing, like tax havens and regulations for financial markets. But I think it's the money and the cooperation, the money that they're putting into the International Monetary Fund, which is going to help poorer nations, and that I think is also propping up.
You've got to feel a bit for the Japanese, because the Japanese almost were the experiment in this on how not to do things, and they've just contracted their economy terribly in the last decade. And are continuing to go down. They're still the second biggest economy in the world, but have come down a long way from where they were. And maybe the rest of the world has now said, hang on, if we go the Japanese route, we've got to do exactly the opposite to what they were doing.
Yeah. And I think the Japanese allowed their banks to linger for too long. And I think this way, that here they are trying to prop up banks and to get credit flowing into the markets again. So we'll see. It's early days, but I mean the markets are just pumping on the back of this news.
Big day for the stock exchanges. David says financials up 4%, the all share index 3% higher, and gold shares unfortunately were back 6.5%. But outside of that, you made a lot of money.